I don't know about you, but when I go to a new city, especially if I don't speak the language, the idea of taking public transportation is totally overwhelming. Even though I used to live in Buenos Aires several years ago, everything had changed when I came back this year. I took the bus wrong so many times before I finally figured it out. So if you're coming to Buenos Aires, I want to help you get from punto A to punto B much more easily and comfortably. Buenos Aires has 4 main ways to move around the city. Of course, taxis, trains, subte, which is the subway, and colectivos, which are buses. All of these modes of transportation, obviously except the taxi, can be used with the Sube Card. There was a period of time in Buenos Aires where finding a Sube Card was super difficult. They were totally scarce, but I think we've entered back into a period of time where you can get a Sube Card at most kioscos. When I first lived in Buenos Aires in 2005, you had to use coins every time you took the subway and coins every time you took the bus. So having this Sube Card is a total lifesaver and makes your life so much more convenient. You should be able to get this Sube Card from any kiosco around the city. Just look for the blue Sube sign in the window. You should also be able to purchase a card in the Subte stations. When I purchased my Sube Card back in January, it was 120 pesos. It may have increased a bit due to inflation, but generally it's around 60 cents. So now that you've purchased the card, you need to add extra money onto it to ride the transportation. You can load it or reload it at any kiosco with the Sube sign or in the Subte stations. Just look for that big yellow or blue box, and that's where you can reload. The prompts are very easy to follow, but basically just put your card on the scanner, follow the prompts on the screen to reload and add money, put in the money, let the card recharged, and you're good to go. The Subte, which is short for subterráneo, subterranean, subway, in Buenos Aires has 6 lines: A, B, C, D, E, and H. Lines H and C go north to south and cross over the other lines, and the other lines generally come from their respective corners outside of the city and come towards Plaza de Mayo, where Casa Rosada is. The Buenos Aires Subte system is not perfect, and at times it's annoying. For example, if you want to go from Almagro to Palermo, there's nothing that goes direct. You have to take the A to the E to the D, so not super convenient. Overall, however, the Subte system is super efficient. Trains do come pretty often. Every once in a while, a train won't come, or there's picketers, but generally the system works. Also, a lot of the cars have been updated and they do feel really safe inside. I mean, people have their phones out. They're just on their phones, on the metro, on the Subte, like in any other major city. I do want to tell you though about the subtleties of line A. Now, in most Subte stations, you can enter from any entrance at all, go down, choose the direction you want to go, scan your card and go in. A, however, is a little bit different because the stations don't connect underground and they go in opposite directions of traffic, so kind of opposite of what your intuition might think. So if you need to go to Plaza de Mayo, do not go down on the side where the traffic is headed towards Plaza de Mayo. Cross the street and go down there. The other very strange thing about line A is that stops Pasco and Alberti are basically the same station, even though they're several blocks away. And the reason I say that is because the train doesn't stop at each station in each direction. For example, the train only stops at the Pasco station when it's going to Plaza de Mayo. On the way back, it skips over and it stops at Alberti instead, and vice versa. So the train does not stop at Alberti on the way to Plaza de Mayo, it stops at Pasco. Just in case you get lost while using the Subte, there is an app. It's not the best app, but it's something. It's very basic and they seem to not have made any updates since new stations have been added. So for example, on line H, it says that the last stop is Bolivar, when in fact the last stop is Retiro. And on the yellow line H, it says that the last stop is Las Heras, when in reality it should be Facultad de Derecho. That has definitely gotten me on the wrong train a time before. So the process for getting on and off the train is super easy. With your Sube card, once you figure out the direction you want to go, just enter the turnstile and scan your card on the top. For some reason, they have scanners on the side too, which never work. So just make sure you're using the top scanner. Then just enter, follow the signs, get on the train. When you're leaving, you do not need to scan your card to get off, so you can put that card away. The price of one Subte ride is around 30 pesos. A city bus in the city of Buenos Aires is called a colectivo or a bondi. Now, Buenos Aires has a fantastic bus system. What the Subte lacks, the bus covers. So maybe you can't go directly from Almagro to Palermo on the Subte, but you definitely can on a bus, and quicker. And the buses come often. I've rarely had to wait longer than 5 minutes for a bus, especially in the middle of the day. So getting on the bus or the colectivo in Buenos Aires is slightly more complicated than the Subte, and it can be intimidating the first time you do it, and it's definitely where I messed up the first time when I was back in Buenos Aires. When you get on the bus, you actually need to tell the driver where you're getting off, because then he pushes a button and that determines how much he's going to charge you. So I recommend checking Google Maps before you get on the bus so you know exactly where you're getting off. Look at the name of the street where you're getting off, where the stop is. So then when you get on the bus, tell the bus driver the name of the street, and then you can hold up your card. He'll push in his little button, and then once the scanner beeps, then you can go through. You'll see that it beeps and it has a little green check. That's when you know it's okay. The price of the colectivo is generally between 18 pesos to 30 pesos, depending on where you're going. You always enter the bus on the front and then exit the bus in the last two doors, the center door and the back door. There's also little buttons on the poles that are orange with a black button, and you can push that to alert the driver that you're getting off at the next stop. One thing that I really like about the bus system in Buenos Aires is that on the main avenues, they have very deliberate bus lanes. It makes it so much easier to find the bus, because when the bus stops are on the side of the road, they kind of camouflage and blend in. But when they're in the center, it's like a big bus center, so you can see where all the buses are going, you can see the names of the stops. It's really easy to find buses to get on and off. Trains in Buenos Aires. While you don't use them quite as much when you're traveling within the city, they're definitely handy to have when you're going to places a little bit outside of the city. Although every once in a while within the city, they are more convenient depending on where you're going. The main train line that you might use the most is the Mitre line, and the reason I say that is because that's the line that leaves from Retiro station and goes to both San Isidro and Tigre, which are great locations to check out. If you're more curious about the train stations and where they go, check out the blog that's listed in the description below, because I've listed there the names of the trains and the station that they start at and where they go to. Like any major city, taxis are everywhere. Sometimes they're easier to catch and sometimes they're frustratingly hard, like at 6 in the morning when you're trying to go to the airport. But generally it works just like it does in any other big city. You just go to one of the main streets, taxis are passing, you put your hand out and wave a taxi down and he'll stop, get in. Standard. However, there are apps. The BA Taxi app, I think, is one of the better ones because it's connected with actual taxi drivers in the city. So they're taxi drivers who drive a taxi as a profession and they know the city super well. And Buenos Aires does have Uber. It's a pretty good option when you're coming from the airport. I haven't really seen Uber used outside of Buenos Aires. They didn't use it in the north, they didn't use it in Córdoba, so it's mostly just concentrated in the capital, but it is an option. The other two apps are Didi and Cabify. They work the same as Uber. You create an account, fill in your information, request a driver. Even if I don't end up using an app, I do like to test sometimes just to see about what the price would be to go from point A to point B. And I do suggest every single time to select the cash pay option. You don't want to pay for anything with your credit card in Argentina. As always, you can find more information about this topic on my blog, which is linked in the description below. And click on this video here so you can learn about Western Union and how to get your money. And if you found this video beneficial to you at all, I would appreciate it so much if you could give me a like and subscribe to see more content from Argentina. Why not?